Just the other day, I was hearing to some Hollywood screenwriters or novel writers, and they were distinctly talking about the journey, the goal, and pressing on the point of inner and outer. And I was like, what the? I have not really ever thought of outer and inner.
Mm.
I mean, then I started to think, of course, I mean, in daily life, what is my outer goal? Every day I want to get up happy, sleep happy, and then whatever is happening during the day is my journey.
Okay.
So, what is this inner journey, outer journey? Inner goal, outer goal.
Wants and needs.
Wants
There are
and needs, I know.
there are different words for it. See, simply put, let's take everyday human being, a person who goes to work, does his daily routine, comes back, end of the month, earns a salary. And even if it's not a day job, there's a self-independent person or a businessman. Each of these people get out of bed, go to work, do their thing, and come back. What is their goal?
The people that you're talking about, their goal is to earn more and more money. Is if they have one car, they want a
No,
one more
that
car.
would be a section of people, right? I mean, people who are striving to earn money, okay? But there are still people who do go to work and do that, and it can't be 100% of the people just trying to get rich, right? There are specific, dedicated, driven people, ambitious, who go and do businesses and one or other ventures, you know, in the bid to earn money, get rich. But there are other people who just go to work and, what is their goal?
Survival.
Their goal is to earn money. Their need is to survive.
Okay.
See, when people talk about wants and need, inner and outer goal, it is too many jargons to deal with. If you can just put that aside, what happens is when an individual does anything, that is, there is an objective that he wants to achieve. Now, that can be by moving from this place to that place, from moving from a bad locality to good locality. But beyond all of these actions that individual does, there's an emotional reason. When a bread earner of the family decides that this locality is not good for me, I should move to another locality, better locality, his inner need is about safeguarding the interest of his family. So whenever we talk about inner and outer, we are basically finding an emotional reason for the actions that people indulge in. Now, when in cinema or in any story, if there is a revenge drama, the goal would be that the hero wants to kill the villain. The emotional need is to quench his thirst for revenge, right? To bring justice to the wrongdoings, right? That is an emotional need. The goal would be physical action of actually going and killing a villain. Now, if I would say that I want to go abroad and settle down, there is an emotional reason for it, because we are driven by our emotions. We are not driven by logic as human beings. So when we talk about this, all we are talking about is that identify the emotional reason of your character behind every ambitions that he may have. What difference this makes to the story is that those ambitions help you structure the plot, decide the plot, series of incidents. It gives an hero or the character something to do, and stories are what the characters do. right? But all these actions will eventually sum up to quench an emotional need, and that is the inner goal. Now, whether you call it inner goal, outer goal, wants, needs, journey, it's the same thing.
Coming back to then my story, because now we are putting all these jargons, like you said. For me, I think it was all about his inner desire, his inner need, his inner goal, or his inner journey. Then what should I put it as outer?
Let me analyze your story from my understanding. That he is a character whose only goal is to distance himself from the reality. Okay? His actions are driven by that. He doesn't connect with the people around him. He doesn't go out of the way to mingle with them. And on top of it, he prefers all sorts of mind altering drugs to keep him subdued. The reason for all that is that for him, the reality doesn't hold any interest. The fantasy that he indulges in as a more emotional connect for him. So his emotional need is the fantasy, not the reality. So while he is trying to avoid the reality, which is his action, the emotional need is for him to be in the fantasy.
Yeah, that is how it is. But for me, I never thought it that was his need. I mean, that is how people would analyze it. That's his need. For him, that's not his need. For him, I think that's his want. He wants it. He doesn't need to be in.
See, want is something that you can survive without. Need is something you cannot survive without. Now you have to identify if it's a want or a need.
I think my understanding, not my definition, is a little bit different. I don't need to be in a certain way. I want to be in a certain way.
Let's go with the simplest understanding that human beings are driven by emotions. Okay. Now, if we keep that as the base, every action of ours can be traced back to one or other emotion. If he wants this, what is his emotional need from it?
Wait, for me, desire is different than a want.
Let me put it in a different way. Now, this is a language in the script world. You are speaking plain English. The script language is different. Okay? But let's say you are identifying the difference between want and desire. Right? Desire is optional, want is necessity.
Yes, want is necessary.
Desire is optional. You have in your idea, in your
Understand.
vocabulary, language, you have desire is an optional thing that an individual hopes for, and want is his necessity. Right? In the script language, you can, for your understanding, consider the same. Or in script language, what you call as a desire is termed as want, and what you consider as a want is termed as need. Now, it is about you speaking Russian to a French person. There is no confusion here. It's the difference in the way you have associated a meaning to a word. But as long as you understand the concept, one is optional and one is necessity for survival.
Okay.
It's the difference in the way people associate meaning to a particular word. But as long as, from a story perspective, you understand that your character has some certain set of desires which are optional, without which he can still survive and live his life as a normal person, but there are certain necessities that he wants, then so be it. Whether you call it desire and want or need, doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
So in any good story, even if the hero's want is not fulfilled, his need should be fulfilled. Again, this is a pattern. this is the pattern based on the existing story, doesn't mean that new stories cannot set new patterns. But based on the existing story, this is the pattern that even if the want is not fulfilled, the need should be fulfilled of the hero. Otherwise, the audience feel cheated. They tagged along the hero's journey for so long and there was no culmination.